100 years from now, if somebody should bring up my name, if it would still be around, it would be nice if people say, geez, I thought he was a good writer. His stories gave me a lot of pleasure. That's what people tell me now, and it's the best thing any writer can ever hear. When I see the characters that I help to create on the screen, I don't really think of them as my characters. I really sit in the theater and I watch them the way every member of the audience watches them. And at the end of the movie, I usually say, damn, that was good. I'm so glad. But I worked with artists who brought them into life, who let people see what they look like and showed the action. There are directors who added so much to the characters and their direction, and the actors who brought so much. It isn't a one-man field. There's so many people contribute. I'm just happy that I've had a hand in all of this, and I'm happy that even after all these years, someone bothers to interview me about it. I'm really very flattered.
Okay. It's been a kind of a minute since I did a video essay, and I'll be honest, I didn't think the next video essay would be about this. Nor did I think I would ever make a video actually in relation to this subject matter. But it's all about positivity right now. So for most of you, I'm sure that you've heard, unfortunately, Stanley has passed away, and it is a heart-wrenching thing every time it comes to realization that it occurred. And while yes, I know he was 95 years old, so I mean, the man lived a long time and a long, great life, so I know he's in a better place, and it's great that we had him as long as we did, and that's the main thing that we can look at and appreciate everything that he helped contribute to our lives, that brought along these superheroes along the run. So I just wanted to make this video just to give a tribute to him and just give my input on how I feel about Stanley specifically. Stanley is a co-creator of Spider-Man, Hulk, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Black Panther, and the Yes-Men, and many other characters out there. Many characters that do play a big factor in most people's lives. Originally known as Stanley Martin Lieber, and he was born December 28th of 1922, and unfortunately, like I mentioned before, he did pass away recently, and this occurred on November 12th this year. Now, many know him as Stan Lee and as the creator of the iconic comic book characters. These characters are Spider-Man, Hulk, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Black Panther, and the Yes-Men. With these characters, he's collaborated with Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, and these men have just done a miraculous thing in the comic book industry, and it's just amazing how much of an effect these characters and the credit that they didn't get as much as they did deserve. Even in respect to Stan Lee as well, he deserves more credit than is even being provided that he once obtained before in the finance of the whole thing. All these men have passed away. It is the end of a generation basically, but at the same time they have inspired many people that wish to keep on this legacy. What I admired most about Stan Lee was his love for his fans and his writing capabilities. He always thanked his audience and those that have greatly elevated his work into the limelight. He always expressed how much he feels that it wasn't for his fans and those that love his work, he would not be here to this day, and he's not necessarily wrong.
We got, again, the fans love your sense of humor, and you know, it's
an equal love fest, because I love my fans. I cannot tell you how much I love my fans. They sometimes at night I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what's it all about, you know? And then I get a letter from a fan, or I read something, or I see something, or I remember something, and I realize it's so lucky to have fans who really care about you. And that's the reason I care so much about the fans, because they make me feel so great. And there's something, if you think about it, that is wonderful about somebody caring about you as I care about them, whom you've never met, who may live in another part of the world, but they care, and you have something in common, and occasionally you contact each other. And this business of fans, I think, is terrific, and I love them all.
I just love the fact that this man is so humble, and that's one thing you really can't take away from him, his amazing, miraculous generosity. As for his style of writing, I felt that he brought the element of humor and heart to characters such as the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Stan himself said before that Spider-Man is an everyday person, and it shows every time. That is one of the main things about Spider-Man that makes him true to who he is. And even with the Fantastic Four, he wanted to capture the family element when it came to the Fantastic Four, because other superhero team-ups, none of them are really close or anything like that, or they know each other from the beginning. But the Fantastic Four are Marvel's first hero family, and it did make them different and establish them in a different way. And I think this is a skill that many writers are capable of, at the same time they do not utilize. What made his writing reach the heights it did, what made his writings reach the heights that they did, was that he used real world problems, such as when it came to using the S-Men and how they are being abused, and many people are prejudiced towards them because they're mutants, because they're basically different, they're born a certain way. And that was his way of representing racism that was going around at the time. That still is a thing that happens every now and so, that still does occur in our modern era, as well as same thing with the prejudice acts towards homosexuality. I know there are several stories of the split between Stan and Kirby, but things happen and we learn from them. And I'm not saying this in order to make Stan look bad or anything, and it's really not making him a bad person or anything of the such. He is a human being. He is human. We all make mistakes, and bad things sometimes do happen, and sometimes things do get to us. But even so, he did make amends with the whole circumstance, and I know it did hurt him in the end. I'll eventually do a video about Kirby and Ditko in a separate video. I can only hope that somewhere down the line we get a cinematic biopic or documentary film in theaters about Stan's life, either with actors such as Tom Holland's Leonardo DiCaprio and Bryan Cranston playing as him as different years of his life, and they could all see them being placed as Stan Lee. Or they could even do a biographical film that they did with Mr. Roger. I just wish I had the honor of meeting Stan in person, but it's okay. Stan lived a good life and was a good man at heart, and I truly hope his legacy lives on forever. May he rest in peace. I wish to give the hand to my friend Brandon in order for him to put his input on what Stan Lee meant to him and what he represented.
So there's very few people that will ever really have the same level of impact and influence on pop culture and just, not only just movies and comic books, but just the entire entertainment industry. I mean, these characters transcend entire generations, and, not just the characters that he brought to us, but the themes into the stories on which those characters partake in, particularly give us a good mirror on what's happening in the real world. And he's been doing that for years, and no one can really overstate his impact on millions of people around the world, if not billions, that love his work, love his characters, and really care about the themes that are being portrayed in these stories. And I mean, just from everything, he means to me personally this kind of beacon of, you don't have to not be a kid when you're an adult or when you're old. You don't have to not want that innocence of comic books and you know, superheroes and just the fantasy of it. You don't have to feel bad for liking things that are, you know, pretend. I think he did a really good job of making that more of like a mainstream idea in the consciousness of society, that you can like superheroes, you can, you know, make good things that entertain people, and it can come from a innocent childlike mentality of just putting people in capes and suits and dressing them up and having them save people. And it's simple, but it's powerful in the sense that, you know, his charisma and his personality as in some ways seep throughout the whole Marvel you know, entertainment industry. And I think it's better off with his influence a part of it, because I mean, even just him as a person, they've never like had, you know, someone who's as just all around kind, good person, just good morals. Just, you can't hate the guy. You see him in all these cameos, you can't really like hate him. There's just something about him that gives you that feeling of being a kid again. And I think that no one will really have that same type of influence, at least for a while. I mean, there's not going to be another Stan Lee, at least in my generation, I don't believe.
Let's go right there.
Didn't know what time it was, the lights were low, oh, oh. I leaned back on my radio, oh, oh. Some cat was laying down some rock and roll, that is so he said. Then the loud sound, it seemed to fade, came back like a slow voice on a wave of fade. That was no DJ, that was hazy cosmic time. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children do get it.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
I had to phone someone, so I picked on you. Oh, oh, hey, that's far out, so you heard him too. Oh, oh, switch on the TV, we may pick him up on channel 2. Look out your window, I can see his light. If we can sparkle, he may land tonight. Don't tell your papa, or he'll get us locked up in fights. There's a star